E dey hot like pepper, but every day dem dey thief money in bulk. Poor man pikin dey the street dey hawk, still dem talk say make we no talk, but thank God say Mayegun don come. Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ dódódódó. Mayegun Diary, Mayegun number one.
Good evening to you, good morning to you, and good afternoon to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun Live.
Mayegun ti dé o, ọ̀rẹ́ ará ìlú. Mayegun Diary, Mayegun number one. Lórí Facebook, lórí YouTube. Mayegun Diary, Mayegun number one. Gbogbo bó ṣe ń lọ ni Mayegun já wa sí. Mayegun Diary, Mayegun number one. Àṣírí ọ̀jẹ̀lú kì í kó níbẹ̀ o. Mayegun Diary, Mayegun number one. Bó bá ṣe eré, àní Mayegun máa wí.
Share the broadcast, invite your friends, invite your not so friendly friends. This is Amber Alerts. I'll be waiting, we go call her an awareness alert. This time around, it is becoming official, where the terrorists are now openly being funded by Nigeria.
Mayegun Diary, Mayegun number one. Ẹ farabalẹ̀ ṣe o, kẹ́gọ́rọ̀ lẹ́nu o. Mayegun Diary, Mayegun number one. Àní Mayegun làwa mọ̀ dódódódó. Mayegun Diary, Mayegun number one.
Thank you.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Yeah.
Mayegun ti dé.
Sure. How is that audio, by the way?
Ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Lórí Facebook. Mayegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Lórí YouTube. Mayegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Ọba bá gbé wúrẹ́. Mayegun máa wí. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Ijó ìgbádìyẹ.
Thank you. I'm so sorry that it took us a while to start, especially for everyone who is watching this live. If you are watching a replay, you can easily skip all of these parts and just go straight to the message when you feel comfortable listening. So thank you for joining me tonight. I don't know if you have heard the news of the Nigeria, put it this way, Federal Executive Council, a place where, you know, president, the presidiot, the vice presidiot, the ministers, and then other people that are, I don't know, where they decide on what they would do with Nigeria. So this time around, apart from them, you know, paying for the hospital bills, flying the wives of terrorists with Nigeria's presidential jets. Apart from doing all of that, it seems that, well, they said they did on Kaduna, Abuja railway passengers, those ones kidnapped since March 28th this year. Well, it seems that they are doing more, and you should pay attention. I have done many series on and then with evidence and facts on the collusion, in fact, of the sponsorship of all the criminalities, terrorism that enveloped Nigeria by the government of Nigeria since 2015, when this APC, Egbekegbe, came to power. They used violence and terrorism to intimidate Goodluck Egbere Jolantan, and according to him, retaining or fighting to keep the presidency, that's not what, I mean, it's not worth the life of Nigerians. But that is different theory to the APC, Egbekegbe, they came with blood. And since they came, it's been bloody. Now, where before they came, we thought the Nigerian security agents and the rest of them, maybe they could handle the ragtag Islamic terrorists that want to take over Nigeria and Islamize Nigeria in no distant future. But when APC, Egbekegbe, came in, we now see the true meaning of a compromised security system, compromised government, and at the same time, a completely defeated country. I mean, without the internal enemies, who in this case are the agents, ministers, advisors from Boko Haram himself, who are very comfortable with the terrorists that have been spilling blood of innocent people. Now, before they came in, we thought it could be tamed. Now, after they came in, terrorism became a bigger business. As the country bleeds, those who were supposed to keep them safe, they continue to grow fat. Now, today, it is no longer hidden. Under this terrorist government of APC, Egbekegbe, terrorists have found safe haven in Nigeria. Rather than prosecute, right, or jail terrorists for their crimes, the APC, Egbekegbe of Boko Haram, they have something called Operation Safe Corridor for repentant terrorists. And they are not ashamed of that. Then they opened up the markets, their own economy for terrorists, right, to take over. How? They have now created an economy for kidnappers that is into multi-billion dollars industry as of today. Terrorists are pampered. It depends on what you, or probably from where or which angle you are, or from what lens you are actually viewing it from. Under APC, Egbekegbe, rather than have jailed terrorists, we have repentant terrorists. Then came the Fulani terrorists as well, which in fact contributed to the division you are witnessing today about Nigeria. Everything you read about Nigeria online and all of that, the greatest contributor to that is the Fulani armed terrorists that have taken over Nigeria with the help of the Nigerian security forces from the presidency till now. So at a time, a report came out. Who were those behind these terrorists? Who were the financiers of this terrorism? Then we figured out that they have been prominent members of APC, Egbekegbe. They have been prominent Islamic scholars in northern Nigeria. They have been a prominent Islamic movement in northern Nigeria. And all these outlets, we have now found out, discovered that they have been the recruiting cells for what is today the terrorism that Nigeria is now battling with. Before now, they were outside doing all of this. I mean, they had no control of government, talk less of the security. Today, they have control of everything. On the 28th of March, the Boko Haram terrorists, they struck. They killed over 18 people on the train leaving Kaduna for Abuja, Kaduna-Abuja Railway. And they kidnapped over 170 people. So this day, they have released so far less than 50 people. Not just that. In the last March, April, May, June, July, August. In the last 5 months alone, these terrorists who kidnapped the Kaduna Abuja railway passengers, they have made over 1.4 trillion naira in ransom payments from their victims. They have threatened, right, to marry off the young women, ladies among the kidnapped victims, if their ransoms are not paid. In the last 5 months, under this APC, Egbekegbe, the people who kidnapped the Kaduna Abuja rail passengers, yeah, they have broken into the medium security prison in Abuja, where they freed all of their commanders that Nigerians didn't even know were being locked up in a medium security prison. Whoever lock terrorists up in a medium security prison other than the government that is in bed with terrorists? Yes. Now, in that same 5 months, the terrorists have enjoyed what is called the executive privileges, immunity, including demanding from the Nigerian government, according to Garbage Shehu, that the wife or the children of the terrorist leader, Boko Haram, responsible for the kidnapping of the Kaduna Abuja rail passengers, yeah, the family in custody were given first-class presidential medical treatment and medical transportation, including presidential transportation, so to say, in this last 5 months, pacifying, the terrorists that Nigeria said they are budgeting over 4 trillion naira to buy arms, to fight. The same terrorists are enjoying cozy relationships with the same people, but it is about to get worse. When they asked the minister of transportation then, Rotifmi Amechi, that how can you guarantee the safety of passengers on this railway? Because the same terrorists that have the unbelievable amount of ammunition that could derail a moving train, they were the same people who have taken over Kaduna Abuja Expressway. Many people have been kidnapped along that route, and they have never been found again. Yes. So this made many travelers to abandon the expressway for the railway. Now, the same terrorists that could derail a rail track, in this case, prompted the general public to be asking the Minister of Transportation, what's the plan? What's the safety plan? And he said, their plan, that was Amechi. This was way back in April, May. Amechi said he already received all the security reports along that track, and he already made the proposal to the Federal Executive Council meeting that they should give him an approval to spend 350 million naira, right, in order to provide security, surveillance camera, all of that stuff along that route. But the Federal Executive Council rejected his proposal. Why? Because, like, as you'd all expect, Abi, now them be the government, now them be the clients, now them at the same time they are the contractor, Abi. So they are always the same. So they said Amechi's companies that Amechi wanted to give the contract to, the company never in their record operated any contract, so to say, or executed any contract that is close to 100 million naira. Therefore, they cannot give them a 350 million naira contract to provide security along that Kaduna-Abuja railway, right? This was in April. That was what Amici said. And that was the reason why there is no surveillance, there's no security along the track. Even if there is any security, if they see camera, if camera capture terrorists killing people along the track, what would they do? What can they do? The same terrorists that will walk into a community, kidnap 300 people, children, kidnap 100 people, safely march them into the forest, and for months undetected. However, it seems like the owners of the terrorists, the financier of the terrorism, they don't want anything or anyone to poke nose into their fear. So they rejected it outrightly. But guess what? Just a few days ago, the government of Nigeria released a statement. This is where it is now interesting. According to them, the Federal Executive Council today approved a contract for the provision of security services to the Abuja Rail Mass Transit. That is Abuja Metro Phase 1. Now, they said Lot 3 and 1A at a total sum of 718,193,250 naira. Now, they said the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Malam Muhammad Musa Bello, made this known after the FEC meeting held on Wednesday, the 24th of August, 2 days ago, at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. According to the minister, the contract was awarded to two security service providers, namely Messiahs Al-Hali Security Guards Limited, at the cost of 407 million. That's his own share. They say two security service providers, namely Messiahs Al-Hali Security Guards Limited, at the cost of 407,214,000 naira, covering a distance of 27,245 kilometers and comprising of 8 rail stations. Now, you may now ask, number one, if they tell you that Nigeria is a failed state at this point, in the hands of these terrorists, stop arguing with people, okay? No matter how much your hypocrisy of I love Nigeria and the rest of all those things that many of you professes, right? Listen to me. When they tell you Nigeria is a textbook definition of a failed country, a failed state, what is the definition of a failed state? A failed state is when in a country, the government, the authority, they have lost control of their people. They have lost control of their security. They have lost control of their own currency. They have lost control of their own economy. Now, at that point, what is left is just a waiting disaster. Every day, you are inching towards that by all this, right? Nigeria has a security force, or let me say the armed force, that has a sort of a sizable number of over 1 million personnel, right? In different categories. Now, at this point, the 173 borders, legal and illegal, that entered Nigeria, Nigeria have lost control of all of them, every one of them, right? Now, that is the land border, okay, which has now contributed to the influx of armed terrorists, which Nigeria cannot really account for or their location, except whenever they strike. But before these things got to this stage, we have already been told that all of this were meant to happen. In fact, if they lost 2015 elections, Now that they've won, the terrorists only the only compensation for the terrorists was that what? You can invade the everywhere. That makes it intentional, which in other words mean the Nigeria that has over 1 million personnel armed that could provide security along the borders. You have custom, you have the immigration, you have all of them armed enough to provide security in those borders. Abi, deliberately, they left them porous. Deliberately. Now, inside the country, you also have an amount of, armed personnel or trained personnel to discover crimes before they happen, right? But in this case, these agencies have also been compromised. In fact, the collusion of the government with the terrorists are no longer hidden. When you speak to the victims of this state-sponsored terrorism, when you speak to the eyewitnesses, the survivors of this terrorism in different parts of Nigeria, they will tell you same story. And the story is, whenever they are under attack, it is either for a deliberate reason, right? Communication network in those areas will cease, and for the period for hours that this terrorism will be taking place, there will be no response from any security formation in any part of the areas where these attacks are being carried out. And the moment the attacks are done, completed, hours after that, when survivors are regrouping, in fact, aiming to go after their attackers, surprisingly, the Nigerian security forces will show up, right, to discourage them and threaten them that if they ever go after these terrorists, they will be arrested. And many people have been picked up that way. Many young people, which in fact created further fear in different communities, which also contributed to the call for the immediate breakup of Nigeria. Why? Many ethnic nationalities from Nigeria have realized that in this current Nigeria, this APC, Egbekegbe's Nigeria, there is no future for you. And the doom that they have brought upon Nigeria, which they seem never to actually see as what it is, since it is intentional, everything is intentional, this has prompted many people to ask for either a negotiation of this contraption or a total breakup, to escape, because it is obvious Nigeria can no longer provide security for any of us, and Nigeria will not let us provide security for ourselves. Those who attempted them, they have been called non-state actors. Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped from Kenya because he called for the self-defense among the Biafrans. Oloye Sunday Igboho has been exiled. An attempt was made on his life. 2 innocent people were killed, all because he also called for the Yorubas to stand up and defend themselves against these marauders. Because those who are meant to provide security for us by their own making, by their own intention, those who are in charge of your governments, they have been compromised. They can no longer keep us safe. Military men are being slaughtered by these terrorists. That is to tell you how sad the situation has become. Now, we are being hunted for asking to defend ourselves. Now, in all of this, the business of ransom taking, kidnapping, killings continue to boom, as well as the threats coming from the same government of Boko, continue to grow. So also is their confidence that as it is right now, they might have conquered us psychologically, because it doesn't make any sense, does it? This is the point. The security forces in Nigeria can no longer keep you safe. Even when they buy 100 jet to Kano Jet or to Kano Jetty, right? Even if they have to empty everything they lay their hands on in the name of providing security for you, If you are not seeing the complicity of these people in all of this, in fact, if many of you actually come to terms to see the treasonable act of everyone in APC, Egbekegbe today, right? I won't ask you to stone them as they did, tell you then that you can stone them if they fail. Don't stone them. You would have been carrying out a revolution that will indeed call for a citizen arrest of these criminals. This is a state-sponsored terrorism. The terrorists are in charge of Nigeria, and they are no longer hiding it. You have army, you have the military. Rather, you have the military, you have the Air Force, you have the Navy, you have the immigration, you have the custom, you have the police, you have the DSS, you have the NIA, you have the DIA, you have all these foreign, all these different names that have now become toothless, that only bite you. They only bite you as Nigerians. And yet, they are awarding the contract of keeping you safe to terrorist sponsor. Here it is. Amici proposed that he found those who could keep you safe, maybe helicopter guiding you, and they called them Al-Hali. That's the announcement of the government of Nigeria. The terrorists will have to keep you safe. Miyetti Allah are now involved in different security security meetings across Nigeria, offering to provide securities for all Nigerians in the hands of the invading terrorists. Now, your government made this announcement, right? Now, when they searched up for this company, it happened to be this company, Hali Security Guard. Ali Security Guard is an inactive company that just received 407 million to provide security for you in the hands of Boko Haram terrorists that are now everywhere in Nigeria, including Yoruba land. Look at this. An inactive company just won a contract of 400 million. Yeah? And do you know the owner of that company? Well, if you are familiar with names like, I'm coming, I think I found one earlier. Abdullahi Bala Lau. Abdullahi Bala Lau, that is the owner of that company. Do you know who Abdullahi Bala Lau is? He is one of the jihadist preachers from northern Nigeria who brought Boko Haram and continue to fund Boko Haram in Nigeria. Jibwis, they are called. Jamatul Izala Til Bida, Waikama Til Suna, just call them Izala movements. Share the whole thing, don't they make sense to you small? No. Okay. Like I go need to take you through something. And that is, if you have forgotten, some things needed to be repeated continually so that you would understand what APC, Egbekegbe, represents and what many of you, although you will say you didn't sign up for this, but this is where APC, Egbekegbe, is taking you to. Do you remember this story? Conflicts for jihad. Do you? Maybe not. I would, one sec. Conflicts for jihad. Right. Some names will begin to pop up soon. APC, Egbekegbe, represents darkness. They represent death. And indeed, no matter what anyone says to you, especially those who have sold their own souls somehow for the pot of porridge, now at the federal level, as Miyetti Allah is making a kill, negotiating for terrorists and ransom payers across Nigeria. Yes, they are kingpins who are also the greatest sponsor of the party that merged with ACN. You remember them? Anyway, it doesn't really matter anymore. Just call them APC. Egbekegbe. Let's read the conflicts for jihad. Let me rejig your memory just a little bit before we go to the next thing. Nigeria, David Udain, remember this? It's been over 10 months now that this report came to light. Up to this day, all of the characters mentioned in these reports today, they have pretended that this didn't happen because it is Nigeria. None of them has made an effort to even sue this author, David Undenyi. I'm going to read it back to you to rejig your memory once more. Mind you, let me make an adjustment on my screen a little bit. Terrorists have taken over, and no thanks to APC, Egbekegbe. If you are rooting for them, you are rooting for something that you have no idea of until now. Maybe, here we go. Characters that are protecting terrorists in Nigeria are the offspring of those who indeed planted this terrorism that Nigeria is suffering from in the last 12 years, which have seen over 50,000 human beings slaughtered, and nobody has been prosecuted for their death. Today, their killers are being compensated, rewarded, and even hero-worshipped by the same terrorist governors of this northern Nigeria. Take a listen, Nigeria organized Islamic terrorism problem did not start in 2009. It's a lot more insidious than you think. Conflicts for jihad, the Boko Haram origin story. In May 2021, a 96-year-old businessman died in Rome, Italy. In his lifetime, Ahmed Idris Nasreddin might have amassed a personal fortune of close to $500 million. But the death of NASCO Group's multimillionaire founder barely made the news. At first glance, the only extraordinary thing about his life story was that it embodied the African entrepreneurship dream. Nasreddin was an Eritrean who moved to Jos in Nigeria's Plateau State and grew his father's small manufacturing business into a $460 million conglomerate involved in everything from breakfast cereal and confectionery to pharmaceuticals, real estate, and energy. After many years of growth and success, he eventually handed his sprawling business empire over to his son, Hatia Nasreddin, and retired at an old age. Old, satisfied age. In an official statement released after Nasreddin's death in May, Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong said, in quote, NASCO has over the years remained a major employer of labor in Plateau and continues to contribute to the economic prosperity of the state and Nigeria at large through tax revenue and corporate social responsibility, of course. Well, that was the cover story. Anyway, in reality, as is so often the case in Nigeria, the gap between the facts and the information released to the public is so wide as to be scarcely believable. What on earth could this shrewd, respectable businessman, who looked like he could not hurt a fly, have done? To put him in the same article as a story about the world's deadliest terrorist organization. Why would the brand he built, which to many Nigerians evokes memories of a beloved childhood breakfast staple, appear in the same sentence as Boko Haram? Right? To answer these questions, our story begins on another continent in 1955, some 8 years before his father would move to Nigeria and establish NASCO Group. A scholar from Zamfara again. You know what is Zamfara today, Abi? Well, a scholar from Zamfara. The year is 1955, and a 33-year-old Islamic scholar from Gumi in modern-day Zamfara state has made his way to Mecca for his first Hajj pilgrimage. Alongside him is a certain Hamadu Bello, who is the premier of northern Nigeria. During this trip, the scholar impresses both Hamadu Bello and the Saudi king, that's King Saud, with his Arabic translation skills. He rapidly makes a big impression on many locals and clerics in Mecca. These relationships will later become his most valuable assets, following the events that take place after this his subsequent return to Nigeria. Upon returning to Nigeria, he takes up positions teaching Arabic studies at Islamic schools in Kano and Kaduna. His style of teaching focuses on educating his students about the differences between Islamic religious doctrine and local customs. Based on his strict Sunni understanding of the Quran, he teaches his students to adopt a pure Islamic identity at the expense of practices that he considered bid'ah. That is roughly translated as innovation or corruption. So what is bid'ah? Bid'ah, Sharia definition of bid'ah is a newly invented way, beliefs, or action in the religion in imitation of the Sharia, that is prescribed law, by which nearness to Allah is sought, but not being supported by any authentic proof, neither in its foundations nor in the manner in which it is performed. Right? So, this preacher from Gumi in Zamfara State in 1955, after returning back to Nigeria, he also becomes the first Islamic scholar to translate the Quran from Arabic into Hausa, which puts him in a uniquely influential position comparable to that of Ajayi Crowther in 19th century southwestern Nigeria. If you have studied the early Christians and the history of Ajayi Crowther, what David was referring to there will make a great meaning to you. That was who Gumi was. Now, using this leverage, he becomes an increasingly powerful figure in northern Nigeria with his essentialist views on Islamic doctrine gaining popularity. To him, the existing Sufi orders of northern Nigeria are polluted with bida and unfit for purpose. It becomes well known for attacking the Tijaniya and Kadriya brotherhoods during his appearances on Radio Kaduna, while advocating for a return to Islamic purity. That Gumi, the preacher from Gumi, following the death of his friend and benefactor, Hamadu Bello, the scholar finds himself in a precarious situation. The new Nigerian federal government, led by soldiers, has a motive to crack down on anyone who is outspoken and influential. He may be a giant in northern Nigeria, but he is a giant with feet of clay. His solution is to seek financial, doctrinal, and political help from his friends in Mecca. The Saudis, as always, are ready to help. His Saudi backers are keen to use him to espouse the Saudi Arabia state's official interpretation of Islam, which is based on the work of 18th century Islamic scholar Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. This fundamentalist doctrine, often known as Wahhabism, fits very closely with the teachings of our hero in northern Nigeria, and he enthusiastically sets about gathering support for this new Saudi-funded project. In the 2009 book, The Wahhabi Mission and Saudi Arabia, historian David Cummins says, in quotes, the Saudi-funded Muslim world, or the League, also sent missionaries to West Africa, where it funded schools, distributed religious literature, and gave scholarships to attend Saudi religious universities. These efforts bore fruits in Nigeria's Muslim northern region with the creation of a movement, the Izala Society, dedicated to wiping out ritual innovations. Essential texts for members of the Izala Society are Muhammad ibn Abdul al-Wahhab, which is Abdul Wahhab's treatise of God's unity and commentaries by his grandsons. So if you check, what is Wahhabism? Wahhabism is a strict, radical, fundamental form of Islam, less extreme than Salafism. It is the state religion of Saudi Arabia, enforced by religious police. No other religions allowed by law. Wahhabism means expansionist, unite world under Sharia. Are you following me? Well, let's continue. The last time I read this article, even my own supposed moderate Yoruba brothers and sisters who are already being indoctrinated into the northern style of Islamic extremism, the people who are now ready to kill people because of religion, that is never part of Yoruba land. But during this APC, Egbekegbe, we are now having Yoruba extremists, Islamic extremists too. They are still not bold enough to kill people yet in the name of the prophet or in the name of Allah. But they were so angry when I was reading this the last time. And I hope they are watching me right now. I'm reading this again. You cannot continue, right, to lead the people with lies that are leading them to sudden death, the trap that these criminals, these terrorists have brought upon us. So, reaching out to his erstwhile students across Kaduna and over the course of the 1970s, the scholar turned politician slowly builds a coalition of strategically aligned individuals who will someday become very powerful people in northern Nigeria. In 1978, one of his prominent students, Sheikh Ismaila Idris, takes charge of this increasingly powerful but somewhat unofficial movement and calls it Jamatul Izalatil Bidawal Ikamatul Suna, Society of Removal of Innovation and Re-establishment of the Sunnah, also known as Jibwis. It doesn't make sense to you again. I mean, no make sense yet. Now that Jibwis collected over 400 million boldly with company that is completely inactive under the government of APC, Egbekegbe, that told you they are fighting terrorism. Ìwọ má dira o, okugbe nìyẹn. Kí ni mo sọ? Okugbe. So, based in Jos and known colloquially as the Izala movement, this organization will go on to become the most influential Islamic body in Nigeria over the next few decades. Its members will become some of Nigeria's most revered imams and clerics. Excuse me. So, they will achieve ranks or high ranks in the Nigeria Armed Forces. They will sit on the Federal Executive Council. Jibwis will come to exert a level of influence over Nigeria's national politics and governance that is unprecedented for a religious body in Nigeria. Soon, it will become almost impossible to achieve power in many parts of northern Nigeria without identifying with the Izala movement, the Boko Haram movement. Among other things, the scholar states that Muslims should never accept a non-Muslim as ruler, which can be interpreted as a call for insurrection against a Christian Nigerian president. He is never held to account for this statement. In any case, he no longer believes that writing books or teaching people about Islam will on their own lead to an Islamic renaissance in northern Nigeria. Now, it's all about partnership and politicking. He maintains his membership in northern Nigeria's legacy Islamic group, Jamatul Nasir Islam, Group for the Victory of Islam, but he is unmistakably the beating heart of the new Izala movement. To all intents and purposes, this is the birth of modern Salafist Islam in Nigeria. Without firing a shot or winning an election, this Islamic scholar has become one of the most powerful men in northern Nigeria. His name, Abubakar Mahmood Gumi. Can you see his face? So, you see this guy, this one, is the son of this one. Do you understand that now? This is Sheikh Osama bin Gumi's father, the one that birthed Izala Boko Haram movement that have their members who are now your major generals, colonels, captains, commanders, and then, senators, lawmakers, governors, and on like that. They are now controlling everything Nigeria, including the Ministry of Communication, where they monitor your communications today. Now, the clerics, the Saudis, and what happened in Nigeria. So fast forward 33 years. 33 years. It is Christmas Day in 2011, and Abubakar Gumi has been dead for over 19 years. A bomb suddenly goes off at St. Teresa Catholic Church, Madala, on the outskirts of Abuja, killing 35 people and wounding a further 52. Almost simultaneously, a series of coordinated bomb attacks and shooting take place at churches in Jos, Gadaka, and Damaturu. An obscure Islamic group calling itself Boko Haram claims responsibility for this attack. During the trial of the main suspects, Kabiru Umaru, aka Kabiru Shokoto, 2 years later, a masked witness claims that an Algerian Islamist group provided funding and support worth 40 million naira, $250,000 at the time, to carry out the attacks. To the general public, it is unclear what the link is between Islamists in northern Nigeria and well-funded terror groups in North Africa. Emma Abami Kalo. To those in the know, however, the incidents of December 25, 2011 are not only expected, but are likely to intensify and become more regular. This is because while the Nigerian public up to this point has been fed with what amounts to a tiny percentage of the actual story behind the Boko Haram group, this group has in fact been incubating and nurtured at the highest level of the theological, economic, and political spaces in northern Nigeria. Boko Haram in reality is so much bigger than Muhammad, Yusuf, and Abubakar Shekau that reducing it to those two men serves to miss the actual story spectacularly. To start to get some of the picture of what Boko Haram is and where it came from, let us retreat from 2011 to 2006 to read an excerpt from a letter written by the permanent representatives, put it this way, permanent representative of Nigeria to the United Nations, Aminu B. Wali, addressed to the chairman of the Counter-Terrorism Committee. This letter is available in full from the official repository for United Nations documents, written by the Nigerian government to the United Nations. It lays out the measures it has taken to fight terrorism in Nigeria. Take special note of the names mentioned in bold below. This is the copy of a letter sent by Nigeria to United Nations Committee on Counter-Terrorism on their efforts in combating terrorism in Nigeria. Now, I will read in parts. It said, court sitting in Abuja on Friday, March 3rd, 2006, granted an application stopping and freezing the financial and economic assets, including business properties and things within Nigeria belonging to or associated with Ahmed Idris, Nasreddin, Nasrate Nigeria Limited, and 3 other companies in that group. The assets were accordingly forfeited to the federal government of Nigeria in the interim. The Nigeria Department of State Services has also done considerable work in respect of tracking down terrorists and freezing and or seizing their assets. It has set up counter-terrorism centers in Lagos, Kano, Maiduguri, and Abuja to facilitate its surveillance. In 2005, the service arrested 6 local Taliban extremists returning from GSPC terrorist camp. The money in their possession was also seized. It had in 2002 filed attempt by GSPC to establish terrorist cells in Katsina and Kano in Nigeria. The leader of the network, Yakubu Musa Kafanshan, was arrested and prosecuted, and money